Here we are at the advent of the winter dormant rose pruning season here on the central coast of California in Santa Cruz. It's brief, a very brief window, middle of December, beginning of Feb. But as is the case so often with horticulture, it's just like real estate, huh? Location, location, location. You do a certain activity at a certain time based on your weather and climate. Check with your local resources. But here on the central coast, clock says it's time to go. Today's January 3rd. One little caveat, roses, apples, sometimes never go fully dormant and become leafless here, but that's the way it is. We have a mild climate. So let me just offer a general statement. If you do nothing else to your roses, parenthetically, you need to do much more. And you need to do it incrementally. This set of videos is about that, an almanac of the rose year, what to do, when, how to do it. Words and pictures. But if you do nothing else to your roses, prune them and prune them relatively hard in the winter. Three things that result from that. Counterintuitive as it seems, the harder you cut a branch back, the longer and stronger it will grow, and the healthier and more lush it will be, giving rise apically at the tip to big, fat, juicy, scented roses come April, May. So in general, if you do nothing else, prune your roses and prune them relatively hard. And I have a bush here. This is a 5-year-old shrub of English rose, also known as the David Austin roses, or as I call them, the new old-fashioned roses. I have a little tribute to David Austin, a little paean that I wrote, I'll read here in a second. But basically, the genius of the man was to take some of the more lush qualities of the old heirloom fashion roses, old garden roses, OG roses, if you will, and combine them with the productivity and the relative disease resistance and the repeat blooming nature of modern roses. In a nutshell, he done good. So, a paean to David Austin, to a remarkable man recently deceased, a man whose dedicated, tasteful, willful breeding efforts have revolutionized rosedom. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan and aficionado of old garden roses, heirlooms, but they are oh so variable, a bit finicky, and offer only a relatively short period of bloom. Austin has taken the lush loveliness of their genes and fused them with modern roses' repeat blooming tendencies. Encomiums and gratitude, a true advancement, a class of roses worth falling head over heels in love with. They offer so much and epitomize beauty. Hey, they're lovely. Okay, the shrub we have here is a 5-year-old shrub of the David Austin type. It is the variety Graham Stewart Thomas. Even though it's January 3rd, one of these shrubs had a lovely bloom. Maybe not optimal as it would be June, July, August, but a nice rose. So this is the deal. It's lush, it's many-petaled, it's cup-shaped, and it's a nice rich yellow, kind of fruity tones. And that's not atypical, which is to say it's typical of most yellow roses, regardless of their class. They tend to smell citrusy, fruity, not much to not like about it like that. So David Austin rose. Another three things about when you wade in, as it were, to prune roses. Don't wear shorts. Oh. Don't wear your best lamb's wool sweater. Oh. Do wear gloves. I have these little clunky but functional and protective, long-handled, as it were, rose pruning gloves. So, shorts, sweater, gloves, hey, 1 out of 3, that ain't bad. In fact, in the world of professional baseball, if you can hit 1 out of 3, 0.333 percentage, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. So what is baseball? Basically a game of failure. Okay, moving on here. I'm armored. And this enables me to reach into the center and hopefully not get snagged. So I've got a nice robust shrub here, and that's the nature of this shrub. Let me also say, whenever you're pruning a rose, you need to address the individual bush. what is its variety, what is its class, what is its general tendencies, and maybe more importantly, how's it growing right now, and thus what am I going to do to it? The weaker a cane again being rose talk for branch, the weaker a cane, the weaker the overall bush, the more you whack it back. Oh, let me just have a little digression here. There are two basic personality types for pruning: hair cutters and whackers. If I'm a hair cutter, I'm like, I don't know, Orin, what do you think? Maybe, nah, I can't. Or if I'm a whacker, it's like, wow, boom, like that. I believe it was the Buddha who talked about the middle path. That's where you kind of want to be. But again, you do what you need to do to invigorate the individual cane and the overall bush. You want to, this happens to be a well-behaved bush in the sense that it's somewhat upright but somewhat spreading. You want a nice cup shape, open center, allow sunlight and air circulation into the core to minimize disease and maximize photosynthesis. And then, so I'm looking at my Graham Stewart Thomas. I'm recounting how it performed this summer, which is most excellent, and now I'm here to reset for the next year. In general, when you prune, there's 1, 2, 3 degrees of cutting back. If you just want a nice full bush and a landscape effect, you just slightly tip the canes like that. That'll give you a little bit of growth, whole lot of smaller flowers, and a nice landscaping effect. A lightly tipped or pruned rose will bloom 2-3 weeks earlier than the norm for that variety in the season. And the other end of the spectrum would be cutting back quite a bit. For instance, I might cut here, and here, and here, like that. That would be a whacker's approach, but an informed whacker, I might add. And what am I going to get? I'm going to get a long, strong regrowth topped by thick, long stem, big flowers. I'll have fewer flowers and they'll bloom later in the season. But the norm is something in the middle ground. Again, the Buddha, the middle path and all that. And that gets you the best of both worlds. And it gets you, particularly if you're interested in flowers for either single bunches of roses or mixed bouquets, gets you the stem length, strength, and the size of bloom that's proportional to the bouquet you're trying to fashion. Another thing is what I'll usually do is employ the middle path, moderate pruning, and I'll do that 2, 3, 4 years. And then in the 5th year, maybe I give it a strong prune to rid the shrub of diseased material, particularly diseased wood, and regrow it in a strong fashion. Okay, let's talk about two things: the two basic cuts with rose pruning and how to actually cut. There are two basic cuts. One is called a heading cut. The big example, I'm going to do this stem here, where you simply cut a branch back a portion of its growth. Now, it's not quite that simple. You'll note how I cut and where I cut. I cut to an outward-facing bud here. This little protuberance here is a bud. What are buds? They're growth centers, and buds are also directional arrows. The plant will resume its shoot growth in the direction that the bud face. Generally, you want an outward-facing situation here. And I cut, leaving about 1/4 inch of a stub here above the bud, at a 45-degree angle facing away from the bud. This is a little buffer, and also if water hits here, it sheds off and not into the bud. Don't leave an appreciable stem. It causes this black dieback. So 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch maybe, but 1/8 inch too. Something like that above the bud, sloping away from the bud. So that's like how you cut. That's a heading cut. You just simply cut back a branch, a portion of its length. It will grow, and it will grow proportionally. You cut it back a little, it's going to grow a little. Cut it back moderately, it's going to grow moderately. Cut it back strong, it's going to grow strong. The other type of cut is a thinning cut, where you simply remove a branch at its point of origin. Gone, no regrowth. So those are the basic cuts and how to cut and where in the stem to cut. And let's cut, as it were, to the quick here and talk about this shrub. A little difficult to see the forest through the trees. A lot of growth, a lot of vigorous growth, a lot of competing growth, a lot of upright growth, a lot of this and that. Let's just simplify, and that's kind of the deal with pruning roses or trees. You're regaining, reclaiming form. And so what I find helpful with roses is, as I've done here, is to go around and just tag the keeper canes, that which is going to remain and then be cut back a portion. Everything else can be eliminated, thinned, or stubbed. And in truth, with roses, I don't do a lot of main cane thinning. I stub them. I stub them to keep a possibility open that they will regrow and eventually replace some of the canes I'm now blooming off of. Rose canes have an effective blooming life of maybe 3 to 5 years, so you always want to have some rollover, turnover. Stubbing rather than thinning facilitates that. So I've gone around, and then another thing you need to consider at the outset, how strong is this shrub? Strong. Thus it can support more main canes. Generally, a range of 3 to 9 canes would be where you want to be with roses. And again, it depends on the nature of the bush, the vigor of the bush, all that jazz. This has got a high up-tempo jazz tenor to it. So I'm going to keep a high number, I don't know, 10 or 11. So I've tagged them. Let's look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that. Close enough for, as it were, jazz. And so I'm going to wade in now, and I'm going to thin, or more properly, stub anything that is not in the main menu here. And it's kind of non-specific. I'll just cut them back a bit, or quite a bit actually, and leave a little stub. These are going to regrow. Well, this is a lovely cane going back into the center. We want a nice open center. So I'll take it out, and I might add that when I'm done here on camera, I will take this material off camera and render it up into hardwood cuttings to propagate, oh, I don't know, 75, 100 more of these beautiful David Austin roses. So let me just shut up and cut. And the purpose of this is to see how much I can snag my wool sweater here, is to be able to see with a little greater clarity, quote unquote, what the bush is. Anything crossing, anything into the center, anything disproportionately strong or weak, kind of stub it. Okay, well, in the immortal words of Jimmy Cliff, I can see clearly now. So this is my basic shrub, subject to further adaptation. I'm going to make a little adaptation right now. This was originally tagged. It's going to go. It's just too crowded in the center. I want a nice open center. Let me also add that, again, don't wear lamb's wool sweaters when you're pruning. Let me also add that these branches are supple and can be trained, either tied down or you can use spreaders to train them. But I've got about 10 or 11 main canes here. So let's talk about degree of cutting back. It's going to be in this range here. I'm going to generally look for and cut to an outward facing bud. In most climates, your roses will be fully dormant at this time of year. Not always here. I'm going to prune it here, and then it's a good idea as you go to strip off any remaining foliage. Get it up and out of the system. Let's clean this up a little bit. Let's cut this back a little bit. Got a nice fat bud there. Let's go that way. And this one here, how about we went in a different direction? I can fork or double here, as it were. That's cool. I've got space to fill. I'm going that way, and then I'm going to go this way with this one. Coming over here about like that. On second thought, maybe not this one, which kind of crosses into the center of these two. This is the stronger, this is the better place. Ain't that the way? I'm going with the better place one. And I'm trustful it will grow. And here we're going about like that, grow out in that direction. I got more space to fill over there, so I'm going to go to a lateral bud facing in that direction. And then I can reach in, and I can reach across, and I can make a cut here, something like that. Okay, and then again I'm gonna come off camera and strip foliage, but for now, it's close enough for jazz. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, you can fork if you've got space to fill. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe not quite so many. Okay, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. I'm going to recut this to a bud going in that direction. And then I'm going to come and take spreaders and spread this like this. Have this one be tied down out like that. And up here, I will, remember, don't wear limbs wool sweaters when pruning. I'll just spread this like this. And looking at this, maybe just go with one there, one there. It kind of fits, and then maybe in a minute I can run and get some spreaders and string and stakes and do a tie down and finish this up. So let's recount. You cut about 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/2 an inch above a bud. You leave a slanting cut 45 degrees facing away from the bud. You cut to a bud that's in the direction you want regrowth, generally to an outward facing bud. You leave X number of canes, 3 to 9, in this case we've got 10 or 11. It's a strong enough bush it can support that. And then you stub everything else, just non-specifically so, just short, short, short. These will regrow and be replacement canes for these in a few years like that. That's the basic deal. Again, there's some spreading and shaping that might be advantageous. So you want a kind of an open center, and you could even make and win the argument, this has no business being here, crosses into the center, but with training we can spread it in a more outward direction, and I'll do that shortly. Okay, we're good to go. Okay, further on down the road, chapter 2. Off camera, I have cleaned this up a little bit. I actually lost a couple of main canes that I initially thought I would keep in the idea of a nice open centered shrub with good spacing between the primaries. And then again, don't be disconcerted about these little stubby things. These basically devolve to future possibilities. They will very predictably grow, fill in space where needed, and also be the eventual, a year or two down the line, replacement canes for those that are now young, vital, and blooming. And so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 primary canes here. And you might look askance and say, Orin, what's up with that? And that would be maybe channeling the great civil rights leader who coined the great phrase, keep hope alive. And then it was kind of lifted, appropriately so, by Obama in his campaign saying, hope. I fully predict this will grow vigorously and fill in space here in the future, give us some nice blooming roses a year and a half, 2 years down the line. So I adjusted the number of canes, and that's it. You make a guess at it, you tag the canes you want to keep, you move in and cut back to the degree you need to, you thin or stub everything else, and you start to see the form, and then you step back and maybe, okay, we could adjust it slightly, and I've done that. And then I've also used, as you can see, these contraptions. These are spreaders. There's two different denominations. Make your own wooden lath with a V-notch cut in it of varying length, and you can buy online these metal ones. They have plastic ones as well. They have a little pointer here, and you can just jab them into the canes, and it does not hurt the bush, and they stay fixed, especially in windy situations. So I've just spread this a little bit. And again, I cut to an outward-facing bud. I want growth in this direction, an under-facing bud this direction, an outward-facing bud there, and like that. But the direction is up and out of the core, out of the center, up and into the light. And you know, this is a finished, pretty well done, pruned and trained rose bush. What's next? In our mild climate here, beginning of January now, certainly by the end of January, beginning of February, new growth will issue forth. I expect to get a couple 3 foot of nice lush growth with leaves topped by blooms in maybe as early as late March, certainly in April. Get a nice 2, 3, 4 week bloom period. And then we move in, and we move in what I sometimes call the summer care package, and that's articulated on another video here. So one comment closing here is that with roses and with fruit trees, deciduous fruit trees, I look at them in the heat of the summer, and let me just say, hopefully we'll have heat this summer. This last summer, the summer of 23, was the coolest, foggiest summer on the Central Coast here I can recall in 30 plus years. And the year before, 22, was just the opposite. It was the hottest, driest, fogless summer. And so it goes with our topsy-turvy whiplash weather these days. But I look out in the summer at roses and trees, and I think, oh, gee, it's going to grow us out of house and home. And then I come around December, January, and they're dormant. And these skinny little sticks, what's up with that? And the truth again lies somewhere in the middle. If you do nothing else to your roses, prune them, and prune them relatively hard in the winter during your dormant season. But do it in an informed manner, and I hope that we've served in that regard here today.